Hey everybody, Stephen Talbot here. Today I want to talk to you all about Reanimator in Standard and how the deck is kind of reshaping itself and how it has reshaped itself from throughout the past 3 weeks. Basically, right now, uh, if you look back, what won the Pro Tour qualifier? Braun-Duin won it. He won a PTQ on halfway through the month of April this year. What I what I do want to know is that his deck versus Chris VanMeter's deck right here from the Open last weekend on the 5th of May are similar, but at the same time there are many slight changes that many people may not realize. All right, BBD's deck. We'll just call him that. Braun-Duin. His deck notably has 3 acidic slimes, which also Chris VanMeter's deck, and this is great. This helps out so much in the mirror. When you can keep your opponent off of the lands that they need to hardcast their big spells, and keep them off their black mana for their burial rights, and or their keep them off something like that. It also trades very profitably with other like Thragtusk, and also is really well for the Thalia Drownyard decks. You can kind of just come and take care of that. Wolf Run, any problematic lands like townships, gets rid of those. But also, what it does, you can blink it with an Angel and start to really go on the beatdown, destroy land deck, hit them with Acidic Slime and a couple Arbor Elves, and you're good to go. You know what I mean? You can get rid of Rest in Peace. You can get rid of all the problematic enchantments. Rest in Peace, Ground Seal, things of that nature. Also, notably, it can keep the control decks off of, Esper off of, like, maybe black mana or white mana or blue mana, or keep them low on their lane count so they really can't excel ahead of you. And if you notice, both Absence Pilgrim and Arbor Elf, they both have 4 ofs, you can get that out on turn 1 play Arbor Elf, turn 2 play something, Arbor Elf, turn 3 play Acidic Slime. You can do that. You can get that into play quite fast. And your opponent's on 2 lands, you put them to 1 land and stuff, and they're really far behind at that point. Let's look at the Restoration Angel. Here we have 3. Here we have 4. And why is this? Well, it is mostly, I would believe, because of Acidic Slime, which, yes, is in both decks, but because of the fact that you have Sin Collector and Fiend Hunter in here, and here you do not have either. So you can, with Sin Collector, I think Sin Collector should be upped. I've already made that change, actually, while watching how many Jund top 8s there were. I think Jund is going to be huge this weekend, and I also think that you're going to see a lot of people playing Reanimator with more Sin Collectors and possibly even a 4th Acidic Slime in the main deck. That card is doing a lot of work. Probably not, though, for the 4th Acidic Slime in the main deck. And the reason is, there's a few things. Okay, against Jund, Sin Collector is great. So 3rd edition will probably be okay. This is great against Boros Reckoner, and more or less, you're playing this, and you want to, if you can, if it really comes down to it, you can play this, blink it with this trigger, with Fiend Hunter trigger on the stack, and you can, I guess, continue. You can exile one of the creatures. The problem with Fiend Hunter, it gets killed by a Searing Spear, so you can play this, and with the effect on the stack, or even they can even let you take it if the creature you're taking has a come to play effect. And you can really get blown out by this card when you think it's safe to go. They kill your Fiend Hunter, the creature comes back into play, does a trick, and then boom, you're very far behind due to a Searing Spear. So I like this deck against the aggressive decks because they do have to waste their mana to get their guy back, or you can just block a lot of times their 2/2s. But I do not like it with Jund being as strong as it is. I think Jund has a favorable matchup against the Reanimator, the Junk Rights mid-range decks, and I believe that this card should be maybe a 2 of. I think the numbers are a little off, so I'm gonna say 3 Sin Collector, 2 Fiend Hunter at best. The Thragtusk it seems to be pretty stable. One in the sideboard against, the Thrag Tuscaneer, or against, something like that, and 1 and 3 in the main deck. It's kind of been like that for a while. Reality is you probably don't even need the 4th in the sideboard. A lot of times you can find a better spot for that, but it works. It works out. It does give you an extra creature against Jund and some extra life, but it also lets you chain them better with Angel of Serenity. Lingering Souls, great against control. Not so, in BBD's deck, the Gavany Township, along with Garruk and Lingering Souls, give him this, board stalling, over the top thing, where he's going to go and make his guys bigger than your guys, and eventually kill you in a board stall. Then it doesn't matter how much life you have. I do like that because off the mulch and Grizzly Salvage, you do get the value off of it. But if you notice here, there's no Sin Collect. There's no Lingering Souls. There's no Garruk in the main deck, and that's just generally because right now it's more of, I would say, the format's moving towards control, and mid-range is actually going to start to get a little bit harder to play with the Jund being so, mid-range matchups and the mid-range matchups and the control matchups. Right now it's not positioned too well, because there still is a lot of very fast aggressive decks you're going to have to go through, and because it's Dragon's Maze is the new set out, I feel that the format will have a lot of weird tricks, and sometimes you want Garruk, sometimes you don't. But more or less, the big thing in the sideboard that I see with Dragon's Maze is Voice Resurgence. It gives you that early game push that lets you block your opponent's aggressive creatures and still give you a guy. It's like a early game Thragtusk. But they didn't have that back here, so Lingering Souls might have been better as a spot for that. Against control it's great, and against flash it's great. It allows your opponent to really not do a lot of endgame tricks, like Think Twice and things of that nature. Sever the Bloodline, I believe, is a card that they could probably use more, but does get rid of problematic creatures, especially in the mirror, like Angel of Serenity and Thragtusk. Deathrite Shaman could probably go up one, depending on how worried you are of the Reanimator matchup. But the reality of it is that I think this deck is still favored over the Jund list because of Siren Sanity doesn't actually hurt this deck as much as many of the other decks in the format. Siren Sanity is great against flash. It's great against I'm going to say aggressive decks. Really not even great against aggressive decks, to be honest with you. It's just a bigger guy. So if you're that late in the game with Jund, you're just most likely going to win anyways. And a lot of times when they're already top decking that late in the game, they're already been all in. It's mid game. It's going into late game, and it's too late for the aggressive decks. Against mid range, someone who's running a Sphinx's Rev, like a mid range list, Siren Sanity can do a number on them. They're going to cavern. The Jund is going to cavern it in, and then you're going to be sitting there. You either have to get rid of it before the end of their turn, instant speed removal, or bounce it. So you really don't have much of a choice on what's going on. The thing I like about this deck with the Fiend Hunter still having it in the deck, if you still have one late game in play, you can Restoration Angel it, get rid of their Sire, add instant speed, which is also something that I think is good. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt you that much if they do go Siren Sanity, because a lot of times that late in the game, they burn through a lot of removal, you burn through a lot of creatures. What I like about Chris's deck right here is he has 26 creatures. And what I don't like, I guess, what I do like about the Jund list, though, is that 26 creatures is still a lot. But the problem is Bonfire gets rid of your Absence Pilgrims, your Arbor Elves, your Sin Collectors right away. It just gets rid of them completely. In 3 mana, you've got nothing left. You got none of that early game stuff in there. 3 for one of you, 4 for one of you. They could put you potentially behind. I think Sin Collector is good though because it allows you to, if you can curve out perfectly, you can go like turn 1 Arbor Elf, turn 2 Sin Collector, get rid of Bonfire, turn 3 Acidic Slime, potentially, depending on what you're playing, and kind of save a bunch of your mana dorks. Your mana dorks are really just there to get you in to turn 7 on turn 4 or 5. That's all it's there for. It's to push you pretty far ahead early. It doesn't say that you lose if they get rid of them, but it's just one of those things that it's a little fragile. And again, like Tragic Slips is being played a lot. A lot of Tragic Slips are going around. Pillar of Flame, stuff like that. You're just gonna be like, oh, it happened. Nothing you can do. So I do think though this deck, like I said, is probably still the best deck. It's very resilient to many of the other good decks. It doesn't really have a way to. It has, between Burial Rites and Restoration Angel and Sin Collector, Fiend Hunter, Angel of Serenity, Acidic Slime, like all these cards give you adherent card value. Thragtusk, I guess, they give you things that you probably that are just a hard cast is good enough. But because you're reanimating them and you're chaining things with Angel of Serenity, you're just making this deck's very resilient to almost everything. I think this weekend this would be the deck to play, and all you do is change up the sideboard to kind of go along with the fact that you may want another sever the Bloodline. You may want the third Fiend Hunter in the board instead of the third Sin Collector. You may want an extra Deathrite Shaman, and you may want to get a little more instant speed removal. In mine, I'm actually adding. In mine, I added 1 Orzhov Charm. This is due to 2 things. Due to the fact that you have no instant speed removal for Olivia. So if they drop a late game Olivia, if they're sandbagging and they drop a late game Olivia, and you've got nothing, they can actually start to take over the game with that. So I want something that's 1 card at least that's instant speed removal. And what it also allows me to do is in the mirror match, Reanimator versus Reanimator, it allows me to get back a Deathrite Shaman or kill one of their Angel of Serenities, which I think is great. Because of the fact that if you mill both of these off of like an early Mulch or Grizzly Salvage, then what are you gonna, what do you have against the mirror? You don't have a third one. So I have that, and that could be at the end of your turn. Bring this into play, get rid of your whatever you have in your graveyard that seems like it could be problematic, and go from there. And what that does, that allows me to untap with a game plan, or excuse me, holy crap, it's getting late. It allows me to to remove a creature at instant speed. So I think we retool the sideboard and make very few minor adjustments in the main deck. And this deck could actually be something you could still play this weekend, even with all the meta that's going around. Alright guys, I'm Stephen Talbot, subscribe below, and I'll talk to you guys later.